Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Seal DeGuglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Jill Ballew. She has more than 30 years of experience in the custom window treatment and soft furnishings industry. She is the owner of High Country Drapery Design and the Workroom Collective, two companies built around craftsmanship, service, and a deep respect for the details that make interiors feel truly finished. Through the Workroom Collective, Jill partners with interior designers and trade professionals across the country, providing expertly crafted drapery, Roman shades, bedding, pillows, top treatments, and custom soft goods. Her work blends the artistry of traditional fabrication with the structure, systems, and communication needed to serve today's high-end design drapery. Jill is passionate about preserving the craft of custom fabrication while helping designers feel supported, confident, and cared for throughout the process. Jill believes the best workrooms are more than vendors. They are trusted partners who protect the designer's vision, honor the fabric, and help create beautiful, lasting spaces for clients. I hope you enjoy hearing from Jill today. Jill, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. What a fun time we'll have, and I look forward to it.
I agree. And as I said to you, I've been looking forward to interviewing you for a while. I just had not reached out to you. So I'm so glad I got to meet you in person. And now here we are. So let's get started. Tell me a little bit about who you are, where you are in the world, and a little bit about your business.
You got it. Well, that's one of my favorite things to talk about, so you might have to stop me in a second. But I am Jill Ballew, and I am in my mid-50s, and I have been sewing, and I started sewing in my late teen years. I went to a private college, and they had a sewing lab. I was pursuing family and consumer sciences, and I took a sewing class. I made my little bridesmaid's or my little flower girl's dress that she wore in our wedding, and fell in love with sewing. And so I live currently in a little town in northwest Georgia called Chickamauga, Georgia. And it's about 10 miles south of Chattanooga. And I have High Country Drapery Designs that is running from that base town. And then most recently, about a year ago, I bought a vendor of ours that is based in Waverly, Iowa. And as we are recording this, I have a jacket on and a heater on behind me because I am in Iowa. And it has a cold little spell that's come through. I'm a mom of five. Okay. And I was blessed enough to remarry in 2015 to the love of my life, Bobby Rogers.
I love that. I love that. So, first of all, that a college had a sewing lab is fabulous. And I know how few opportunities young people have to learn sewing in school anymore. And I hope that that's something that we can bring back so that people understand the of it. Yes. Did you know how to sew at all before that?
I knew a little bit. I had a grandmother who would make clothes for me, and we didn't have a ton of time together, but she did show me some of the things. I was always had an affinity towards crafts, so I knew how to cross stitch. I'd learned how to do the first little stitch of crocheting, and so I was always in a creative mode.
Okay, I love that. So tell me a little bit about how you started High Country Drapery. What was the journey to that like?
That's a great question. So when I first got married, I was married to a gentleman, my children's father, who moved us quite a bit. Still, I moved 16 times in our first 10 years of marriage. And
oh my goodness,
moved from one space to another. And there were different reasons for that. But being young and creative, I started sewing for myself. And in a lot of those situations, we were in a ministry, and we'd be hospitable and have people over, and they would look at what I made and they would say, can you make me that, but in this color? And so it kind of grew organically out of that, of me moving and redecorating and then sharing it with others. But in 2000, no, it was probably 1998. I had the privilege of dressing out a bed and breakfast in the historic area of Columbus, Georgia.
Oh,
I met a
wow.
lady who had just bought a second home that was built in the 1800s, and she wanted to create a bed and breakfast from it. And I made swags and jabots for her. I did bed drapes, bed valances, sunburst on the bed. I did all of the different things for this 6,000 square foot home and impressed myself. And I knew then, okay, I had it. She paid me for it. And I, I thought, okay, I have a talent that I can start making money from. And I can do it from home, which was very important because I was homeschooling my children at the time.
Oh
And
my
then
goodness, that's a lot.
it was a lot. It was a lot, but again, I'm a high achiever. And so it just kind of fell in line with if somebody else could do it, I can do it too. And
Love that.
my mom said if you wanted to go to the moon, there are ways to get there. And so she instilled that into me very early on that whatever my dreams and aspirations were, I could, in some way, there's a way to get to it. And so I believe that. And, but long story short, my marriage failed. I moved from the area. I had grown this workroom. At that time, before I moved, I had three different ladies sewing for me. I was mainly working for designers at that time. And I picked up and moved back to Northwest Georgia, where my parents lived and where I had been raised. And they helped me raise my children while I went to work in a corporate setting. And in that corporate setting, I was the director of sales over several hotels in downtown Chattanooga. And I was very blessed and fortunate enough to have training on sales. And the company I worked for had a great sales VP who trained me to the nth degree. And so I helped grow sales in downtown Chattanooga. I was very successful based off of really just following her instructions and doing what she told me to do. And it worked. And so here now I have another layer of my career that I am pursuing now. I have this amazing sales information. And so when I divorced in 2008, I met my next husband not too far after that. I had several friends who wanted to set up blind dates, and I'm like, no, no, no. But anyway, I found Mr. Right. And then we married in 2015. He's a retired police officer of Chattanooga after 30 years. And he said, I have you. You're working yourself to death because I was trying to rebuild my sewing business in the evening, and the kids were older at this time. He said, you quit your job, but no more sewing. You have to go sell and no more sewing. And I'm like, there's no way. That's all I've known to do is to sew it,
Right.
And he was so right. And so I found ways for other people to sew for me. And I went about selling. And so I started selling window treatments, draperies, bedding, the whole works, and started working from my home. I hired a person to come in to assist me during that. She helped with ordering and the bookkeeping and the marketing piece of it. And then it got so big that we had to move out of my house, and we leased a little place for high country. And then within a year, I felt like we were throwing our money away. And so we found a building for sale in downtown Chattanooga. Downtown Chickamauga. And we bought a 5,200 square foot storefront. And we have run operations out of there since 2020. And almost every year we've grown. There's only 1 year that we were flat. But we went from zero in 10 years to a multi-million-dollar company, which has been so much of a blessing.
Right. So I want to back up just a little bit. So when you decided to leave your corporate job, were you doing any of the fabrication?
I was doing all of
Okay.
it. Yes.
Okay.
And he said,
And so, and that was in your house when you were doing it? Okay.
In the dining room. Yes, the dining room. Now, we do have an outdoor outbuilding that eventually became my office. And I did not do any sewing in it, but I did run the operations out of that when he said no more sewing. But that's when it proved to be too big. And
right. So what is High Country like today? You said it's a storefront. Is it a place, are you still to the trade?
I'm 50-50. So we are working with homeowners, and typically we're finding those homeowners through referrals. We have a huge referral source that bring us clients, and that we consider being what we call retail clients, those that are not working with a designer. And then I would say probably 55 to 60% are designer-led projects. And High Country, even though we have a storefront, it was just until recently that we took over the full building. I've had renters in the front with a gift store that occupied at least half of the space the time we've owned it. And then we asked them about 2 years ago to give us the full space. So we allowed them a year to disperse everything. And we're about to renovate it. I don't really feel like we need a storefront. We're still shop at home, the business model of shop at home. We just need more back office storage workroom. I do now have my own workroom on site and have had several people sewing for us in Chickamauga. But she could not scale with us. We have not been able to find the seamstresses in the South that could keep up with our seamstresses standards. And so that's how I came about the Workroom Collective.
Okay, so tell us about that, because I was so intrigued when I realized that you had purchased the second business.
Yes. So K&L Draperies had been based in Waverly, Iowa for 50 years, and it was still being run by the family. By this time it was the granddaughter, and she was in her 60s. And it's a 15,000 square foot facility that in its heyday was fulfilling orders daily of like 200 widths of drapery and shipping those out. So it has depth there. There are employees here who have worked here for 20, 30, 35 years themselves. Like they've spent their whole career here. They're in their mid-50s. And so they've seen it go from its heyday down to something that's dwindling. And it ends up, for me, High Country was able to scale because we found K&L Drapery. They created all of our draperies for about 4 years before I decided. In the meantime, they were helping me scale by doing all of our draperies, and then internally we were doing everything else: Roman shades, top treatments, bedding. And at the end of, in February of 25, the customer service rep called and said, "Don't send any more orders. We've decided to close the facility."
Wow.
I had fallen, we were friends. Tracy Nash is the customer service person's name, and she and I were friends as well. I had, over the years, begged her to leave her job and come down to Georgia and work for me. And she said, well, my family's still here, so she wasn't moving. So anyway, long story short, Tracy and I decided to buy the business together. And so we propositioned the granddaughter who was running it. And we were very blessed to be able to buy the building, the equipment, the inventory. We have 2,000 square feet of fabrics that are brand new, that have not sold. And so just if anyone out there is looking for fabric, come to us first. I've got it cheap. But so in March of 25, we renamed it the Workroom Collective. And it had already been a national workroom. It was serving other clients than just High Country. And since then, we've opened it up to the America's Window Covering Buying Network as their preferred workroom. And we specialize in draperies and Romans, although we're equipped to do quilted bedding, top treatments, pillows, anything a workroom would do, we're able to do that. Tracy and the
Okay.
team bring the old school layer of craftsmanship. So it's a high quality craftsmanship. What I brought to the table is the innovation. And so I put in the systems to be able to help it scale.
Okay. All right. I have a lot of questions. Who does the Workroom Collective serve? Like if you were going to identify the ideal customer, who would that be?
It's to the trade only. And
Okay.
our favorite client is someone who knows how to specify their own drapery and they just send the orders in. And we are
Okay.
nimble and flexible enough to create it based on their specifications. We've had one
Okay.
client out of the Northeast who loves for the top 3/4 of an inch of the 4-inch buckram to be left open in order for the ring to nestle down into the opening, and we're able to do
Mm-hmm.
that. We're doing trim right now. We're just finishing up a leading edge that had 1/4 inch covered cord down the leading edge with a 2.5 inch French pleated ruffle, and it's gorgeous. That ruffle is made out of silk, and the fabric is velvet. It's just amazing, but the craftsmanship is here. So we're serving ideally the ones who already know how to specify drapery, although with the buying
Right.
network and we becoming their preferred vendor, there are other window covering specialists who maybe have only done hard treatments that would like to get started selling soft treatments.
Okay.
And so we're providing a layer of education for them so that they're able to expand their businesses. And then most recently, we're finding that interior designers who are seasoned enough to source their own draperies, like maybe they're using Fabric Cut. Fabric Cut allows for COM, but
Mm-hmm.
they're mainly a fabric company that has the workroom associated with them.
Gotcha.
We
Yes.
are serving those designers. And I need to say, even though we have 2,000 square feet of fabrics that I'll sell cheap, that's not our model. We are COM only. And so
Okay.
we require,
That's just left over from the purchase, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Got it.
We do require all clients to buy linings from us, and we have anything that they would need.
Okay. All right.
So that's the only
So,
fabric.
okay. So we've mentioned craftsmanship and high quality. What makes a high quality workroom different from a basic fabrication vendor?
What's different? That's a great question. And one of the things would be the how we pleat. So a mass produced workroom doing drapery typically will have conveyor belts. It'll have a machine that turns the pleats.
Mhm.
It has a lot of automation that is going along with that. We're not that. We still have the normal tacker. We have the normal straight stitch machines, the blind hemmers, and we have a person who is at every station. So what is different from what I've experienced growing up, I was the person cutting, I was the person who was sewing it together, I was the person assembling it and packaging it. Here, it's
Mhm.
an assembly line. So one person is putting buckram in all day long.
Okay.
One person is cutting all day long. And so that allows for the consistency to happen. And then the
Okay.
quality checks are happening from one station to the next. You've got multiple
Gotcha.
eyes on one project instead of one doing it for everything.
Okay. You also mentioned, Jill, like you make your pleat, one person likes to be able to nestle the ring down into the pleat. That's not something you can ask of a high quantity workroom they're going to make their drapes a certain way. And if
That's
that
right.
matches your aesthetic and that's what you want, great. But if you want something different or special, that's not the right workroom to go to.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yes.
So you mentioned customer service, and it was Tracy, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Tracy is your business partner. Is she running the day-to-day things in Iowa because of that?
Yes, bless her heart. Yes, she is. And she's doing a great job. Um, Honestly, she was doing it before we took this acquisition, and she just wasn't given the pay or the title. And
Mhm.
she has such a great personality for leadership, and the team really respects her. She was the glue that kept things going. The acquisition could have been really hard, much harder than what it had been. But Seal, so the owner did not know I was flying up to proposition her to buy the business. And Tracy had told me on Friday that the owner was going to let the team members know Monday that this was their last week. And I said,
Okay.
I'm going to fly up Sunday night and I'm going to be in the area Monday morning when this lady comes into the store or in the workshop. And I said, let her know I'm in the area and I want to talk to her before she lets the team members know. And so it
Okay.
worked out where I was in the room when the owner told the employees, and
Okay.
she was kind of the bad cop and I was the good cop to save the day in that scenario.
Gotcha.
And so the transition was very much more smoother than what it could have been. But Tracy was a big part of
Right.
that. And
Right.
she has been consistent and taken the lead role. She's very grateful for the opportunity. They had been
Hmm.
told for decades that the industry was dwindling and that there wasn't much work out there. And that's because they just
Okay.
weren't in tune with our industry. Much unlike me, I'm on the national board of the WCAA and at IWCE every year. I'm going to other conferences. I'm very much in the know of what the opportunity is. And so she's doing a great job in
Okay.
leading it, though. It's a great combination.
I love that. And I was thinking as you were speaking that with all of the years of expertise and experience that you have, you talked about leadership and about Tracy's ability to lead. Has that changed in any way you're doing, what you're doing with High Country Drapery, or as you step into the role of running the Workroom Collective? Has it changed how you lead?
It has. It really has. I've always been a subscriber of business coaches. And so
Hmm.
I lean heavily on others to shorten that um, learning curve for me
Hmm.
by coming along beside me and coaching me as I am maneuvering through trying to achieve my goals. But I have an amazing operations manager in Chickamauga, and her name is Krista, and she's running most of the operations there. And so
Okay.
my leadership style has had to change. I've had to really allow for others to implement my dreams and be less involved. I no longer am taking on weekly appointments with clients. I have the way I had created High Country before the acquisition. I already had salespeople. We call them window covering specialists who meet with
Hmm.
the designers, and they also have project managers that support them. So the window covering specialists are going out to sell, and the project managers are being communicated the design, and they're ordering everything and overseeing it, kind of executing the actual projects. And so we'd already
Okay.
set that foundation in place at High Country. And even though last year, if an onlooker would watch what I was doing, I was back and forth. I was probably in Iowa a lot more than I was in Georgia.
Okay.
High country still grew exponentially last year, and I had the best year in my life. I lived in my Airstream most of the year and hopped back and forth in my camper. And my husband was with me, and we had a blast. And so it's been a real different change, not being as involved in the day to day. But it has pushed me to be more of a business owner than someone who is self-employed.
Okay. That's a distinct difference. That for those of us who are running solo businesses, it's kind of hard to put ourselves in that position because we don't have employees that we're leading. And I love that you use that word because I was just reading an article today. There's a newsletter that I subscribe to that's journalism based. And the person who runs it was saying that he had to say goodbye to two people. And he's thrilled at the low turnover rate they've had, but these people are going on to bigger and better things. And he's proud and sad at the same time. And I just thought it was so interesting that when you take that leap and you take the risk of having others do work for you, and like you said, implementing your dream so that you can be camping with your husband. Although I don't know, I kind of think of an Airstream as glamping, not camping.
He would agree
If
with
it's
me.
a
We
nice
agree.
Airstream, that's really nice.
Yeah.
But you being able to enjoy your life and not be overwhelmed by the running of two separate businesses.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
he would, I work all the time, but
yeah.
it is a very good kind of work. Like I enjoy every bit of it.
Right.
And we sometimes go to the beach and camp, but I take a
Mhm.
computer monitor with me, and he might be outside and I'm inside on Zoom calls or whatever. I'm still running
Mhm.
both businesses. I'm still working more than 40 hours a week. I just have the privilege of not having to be in one particular spot to be able to do that. And for
Right.
me, that's a dream come true, but it kind of dropped in my lap instead of me focusing in and determining that that's what I was going to do.
Okay. Yeah. Could you have envisioned this when you were sewing draperies in your dining room?
No, no, not at that time. Eventually, I hope to have a multi-million dollar company doing this. I mean, the opportunity is huge. I'm sure you see it more than even me, Seal, with our industry and I mean, I helped start the WCAA chapter in Atlanta back in 2004. And I'm
Okay.
seeing most of those people have already retired and moved on to other things, maybe. And there
Mhm.
is in my opinion, a lack of people coming behind us filling those roles. And so why not create a scalable national workroom that allows for the high quality to continue, but yet innovate it with the software and the processes that I'm so good at. And it just feels like the automation and the hybrid craftsmanship model works really well. And there's an opportunity for all of us that know what to do, how to do it. If we could figure out how to scale that business, I mean, the opportunity is huge.
And we talked about this briefly earlier about, you know, we need more younger people coming into this industry. And I feel like that may have been the opposite of that hope might have been what was the impending doom of the business that you bought. They were not looking for new people. They were having this mindset that it's scarce and no one wants to do this. And yet people had been doing it for them for a long time.
Yes.
So I, I'm curious, you talk about systems, we've talked about craftsmanship. What does it look like in practice to be running a business that is based on high quality craftsmanship, but also putting systems in place? You already mentioned it's an assembly line of each person does one task and multiple quality control checks. But what else helps make this such a success?
That's a great question. So I love the software program for quoting, and it's called Solitech. And Ray Soltis and I worked a little bit. There was another group of ladies that took it from where I started and fleshed it out even more so in the soft treatment side of things. But we have a quoting program that both companies can use. High Country uses it in a certain way. The Workroom Collective uses it in a different way. And what it gives us is it gives us a very highly customized product can be quoted in minutes and sent back to in High Country, we're doing projects that are 50, 60, sometimes $250,000 projects. And so we're able to quote that very quickly. As long as we have all of the information in place, the details in place, right, then we can put that in to a quoting report and send back to our clients pretty easily. So it's ease of use for our clients, and ease of use for internally to know. I had to systemize that pricing piece so that we could scale it. I needed a place where multiple salespeople could come and have the pricing be exact in any situation. And Solitech has helped me do that. Another piece that I have another software I use for both companies is called HubSpot. And HubSpot it's a CRM, and we download all of our projects into that, and we're able to see them move through the different phases of assembly or the different phases of project execution. And so like for High Country, it's going to come in as a quote, and then it's going to move to a sale, and then it's going to be in the ordering process, and then it's going to be in the quality control check process, and then it's going to be in the installation process. And HubSpot has different components that allows you to see it in different viewpoints. And I'm visual. I'm a visual leader. And so it gives me these columns that I can see how much revenue is in each of those stages, which is very helpful on a top end level to see in. For the Workroom Collective, it's a different set of stages, but I'm able to see what we have, what we call in line, what is getting ready to go on the table. And I can look at those numbers in several different ways. I can look at it, and if we are seeing them increase week over week, I know I need to add more people. If it's starting to deplete, I might need to lower the hours. And so there's that. Another thing that Solitech does is it'll quote it, and then it pushes it into QuickBooks. So I'm able to very quickly send an invoice and keep everything in QuickBooks. So we've automated. There's another program we use called Asana for the project management piece of it on the High Country side. So that's one set of systemizing. Another is this year, in both companies, we're documenting every task and who is responsible for every task. And we're documenting it, and I'm helping dictate how I want it done. And then I have my operations managers in each company who are making sure it gets done exactly that way. I'm a real collaborative leader. I usually want everyone around the table, or at least a person from each department around the table. I don't believe I have the best ideas. I believe we all together have the best ideas. And so I usually approach things in a collaborative way. And then we take what is best that serves every piece of the business, and we implement it. So this year, we're doing the standard procedures. We're documenting all of those. We are documenting the job descriptions. We're getting business savvy and getting a manual in place, tightening up our HR practices, all of that in order to scale again. I think over the next few years, we should be able to triple or 4 times our business, especially if we have those.
And the systems in place are what allow you to grow. Any of us who have attempted to grow know you don't wait until the business is all there to say, I need to train someone, because training someone takes a while, and then you can't get it all done. So
yes. And so then
go ahead.
Well, you've got new people coming in, and if you don't know what they need to know, if you don't know what position they're going in, and then what they need to know in order to do their business, their position well, then you're losing a lot of time and wasting a lot of energy. And so for us to document that, and then to put training modules in place to surround those key principles, is very important. It's vital, I think, in knowing what needs to be done instead of drawing it up as we're on the fly or as we're going.
Okay. The sponsors of the So Much More podcast allow me to bring guests to you each week, and without them, I couldn't do it. I'm pleased, as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, that I can use the library to help sponsor the podcast as well. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. The Workroom channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. Education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to members of the Window Covering Association of America. The WCAA is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. The library is a gold level sponsor of the WCAA. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. Discover Klimaka Studios, where innovation meets exceptional design. Klimaka fabric and wallpaper collections are inspired by the original works of collaborating artists and developed with the understanding of how fabrics are manipulated into exquisite soft home furnishings. Workroom businesses enjoy exclusive access to engineered designs and best trade pricing. From clever layouts to classic linen prints, Klimaka Studios delivers the quality and consistency that your business demands. And Klimaka's reliable, on-time delivery keeps your projects running smoothly. Go to klimakastudios.com for swatches and trade account information. Klimaka Studios, for the joy and profit of workrooms. I love that some of your business is retail and some is to the trade, but since the Workroom Collective is a to the trade workroom, what do you wish that designers understood about what happens behind the scenes in a professional workroom? Because you talked about there are people who can write out a work order, send it, and they're going to get what they want. And then there are people who would, well, I'd kind of like this, and what do you suggest? And those are actually people I love working with because we're collaborating. But when you are trying to be more things to more people, what do you wish designers knew about that?
I do wish they knew what we did behind the scenes, even from checking in the fabric that they send. And I mean, we're getting, hundreds of orders if that fabric is not labeled specific to that project and that work order, it takes quite a bit of coordination to know whose fabric this is. And so that's important. I would say today I went out to the workroom and I was going to follow a piece of a project through the assembly line today. And we pull out the fabric. It had already been inspected, but we did a second inspection before we cut it. And we found one little tiny blue thread woven into the fabric, and another, 3 yards up, another red little thread woven into the fabric. And so now everything has to stop. The production that we had planned for the day now has to be shuffled around. We have to pull something else out so that it'll replace that, so that we get our production done in that day. And so the level of care and detail that we go through in order to make sure we have a pure product leaving our facility, we go to great lengths for that. We care about that. And one of the values I put in both companies for our team value is communication, because I hear from designers, well, I've sent that fabric 5 weeks ago and I haven't heard a word from the workroom.
Right.
And so out of sight is not out of mind for us. I think that workrooms can do a better job in communicating and just staying in front of the designer saying, hey, we've got 3 more projects before yours are going to go on the table. That little bit of communication, I think, would go a long way for designers.
Agreed.
Yes. But there are so many people touching one product. For it to come out perfect is really a miracle. I mean,
it really is.
It's a miracle. And so I think that's important for designers to know, is that there was a lot of coordination and a lot of double checking in order for your client to have that beautiful drape hanging exactly where you wanted it to hang, and for it to function the way you wanted it to function.
Right. And I think it's, from my viewpoint, when a designer sends something to me, I do try to communicate with them frequently, but I was with a designer not too long ago. We were measuring in a client's home, and the gentleman turned to me and said, and those will be done next Monday, right? And he started laughing. And I said, oh, of course they will. And we had a laugh about it. But I know there are people who don't understand that I'm already working on someone else's project. I'm here to measure, but there's a project in progress right now. Otherwise, I'd be out of business if I didn't have something in my workroom currently, and yours will follow. If the deposit comes in, if the fabric comes in, if the hardware comes in, if it all flows the way it's supposed to. And I think that if we don't communicate, there's no way someone can know that. But At the same time, I feel like it's really frustrating. Like, how do you think this works? Like, I'd love to hear that. And I love working with designers, but every once in a while, I'd like to say, how do you think this happens? Just let me know.
Yes. One of my statements that I make often to our team members is that my goal. Do you remember Steve Burston? Did you ever meet Steve Burston? I did. And so he was a great. I read everything. They're probably in your library. All of the articles.
Sure, I know he has articles in some of the older magazines. Absolutely.
He was so smart. But he said, we have to sell emotion. We're not selling a product, we're selling emotion. And so I thought long and hard about what emotion are we selling? And so I have coined a statement for my team, and it is that we are selling peace of mind to the designer and pride of ownership to the client. Or if it's the homeowner, we're selling them peace of mind and pride of ownership, peace of mind through the execution of the project, and then pride of ownership at the end when we leave. And then I've also brought that internally. I want my team members to know exactly every step of what they should be doing so that there's not room for them to say, am I doing a good job or not? I want them to have that peace of mind. And I also want them to have the pride of ownership of working in a place that cares about them and that cares about the quality and that they enjoy the work that they do as well. So the emotion, I think, we might sell Roman shades or pillows or top treatments, but what we're really selling is that peace of mind and that pride of ownership.
Right. I've often said the first time I heard that we were selling a service and not a product, I didn't quite understand that because there is a physical product in what we do, but that feeling, and very often when I speak with guests on the podcast, what do you love best about this business? And the answer is when the client, whether it's the designer or the homeowner, looks at the finished product and they are thrilled. So we are delivering exactly what you said, peace of mind. The designer can put that piece in our hands and go do the rest of the things that they do so well. And the homeowner, especially for a first-time homeowner who's embarking on the decision to have custom window treatments made, it's scary. There's a lot going on, and it's not inexpensive to do it.
Yes.
So I love that idea that you are selling peace of mind, and the pride in ownership, I think, is really a big part of it. I love that. So, Joe, I always love to ask this question. Did you ever consider quitting?
No.
I mean, you've had a lot of growth, and there are headaches that go with that, and I'll ask about the challenges in a minute, but I'm always curious whether people ever think about just saying, nope, not going to do this anymore.
I've never thought I would quit. I have thought about, do I always want to achieve to the highest level that I've had in the past? Like, do I want to keep that pace up? And in fact, I'm at that point right now. I do have, I'm a true entrepreneur who loves window treatments and textiles. And so I have new business ideas that come in my mind all the time. So I haven't sewn in 10 years. And most recently, I started sewing personally again. And I've started sewing heirloom type clothing for my grandchildren. I have several, and it's so much fun. It's a different type of sewing.
Right.
And I've loved it. Have I ever thought about quitting? I haven't thought about quitting what I'm doing, but I have stopped allowing myself to continue to find new businesses to start.
Okay.
I have business ideas all the time. And now I think I want to pursue growing what I have and finding a life and work balance.
Okay.
My personal life and with work. I feel like we're going in the right direction. I feel like the two businesses that I have will achieve the goals that I want. And I am, again, in my mid-50s and feel like, okay, I probably have 10, 15 more years of being able to do this and do it well. And what else do I want to accomplish that's not necessarily in the professional realm?
Right.
And that's spending time with my grandbabies and loving on them and enjoying life in a little different way as well.
Right. I have to say, I've enjoyed watching your progress with the sewing because I follow you on social media. And it is a question that I often ask, do you do any sewing for yourself? Part of the reason I asked is because those of us who have created a business out of that skill very seldom want to do that in our spare time. But as someone who's running the business, not fabricating, I can truly appreciate, because I was feeling that way. Like at the end of a day in the workroom, I did not want to make anything else. I wanted to be out of the workroom.
No.
And now with running the library, it is something that I'm taking the time to do, is to do sewing. So I've loved watching.
I'm so glad to hear.
Yeah. And I don't have grandbabies yet. I hope to, but when the time comes, I hope that I get to make some of those heirloom clothes because I think they're beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Well, let me know. I'll tell you the patterns to get and all the places to go. It is. It's funny too, because as we get older, Seal, I'm finding that through this stage of the female part of our lives, this menopausal stage, there's another layer of anxiety that comes along with the
Absolutely.
hormonal changes.
Yep.
And so educating myself on how to you've heard of the word fight or flight.
Yes.
And that whole mental state of survival. Well, I feel like because of the divorce and the 5 children and the responsibility that
Yes.
it took, to keep everyone alive, and they gave me a run for their money, or for my money, for sure. These boys did. I have 4 boys that I raised out of the
Oh, my
5
goodness.
children. And so, but I'm finding that I'm not having huge health issues, but my mental health and the anxiety that, the changes and all of the, anyway, long story short, what a release it is to get back to a creative state.
Yes.
Whether it's using my sewing machine, or I've just taken up needle pointing and I'm creating my own needlepoint designs on this Stitchly app that I found. And that allows for all parts of my brain to continue to be creative, but not concentrate on the business.
Right.
And I finally I love my children. I love spending time with my husband after hours of work, but that's a whole new layer of desire to get finished with work so I can go and participate in that sewing. So hopefully those that are our peers out there who are sewing as well, maybe they will take some time to get back into doing sewing in a personal way that brings them that joy again as well.
I agree, Jill. And I think the flight or fight portion of our brain gets heightened at a certain point, especially when we're business owners, because we don't get to say at 5 o'clock, oh, day's over. I'll be back tomorrow to finish that. In our head, we're saying, okay, I still haven't gotten this fabric. All right, the wrong finish came in that hardware. So there's no easy way. And, probably 150 times we've said on this podcast, there's no window treatment emergencies for the client, but there is for us. And our bodies and our brains get stimulated the same way as if a saber-toothed tiger were chasing us, and we're constant, all right, how am I going to fix this? What am I going to do? And I think it does take a toll on our bodies. And the longer we avoid taking some time for ourselves and taking better care of ourselves, the harder it is for our bodies to bounce back from that. So I love when I see that some of us have taken a more creative approach. And there have been times where I've been in the workroom all day, and then I have a project that I'm working on or something that I want to make that I can, have dinner and head right back to the workroom. But I'm not looking at any of the things that have a deadline. I'm looking at the things that I want to be making for myself. So I love to hear your perspective on that. So you've, like many of us, you started this business. People saw what you made and said, can you make that for me? But you've gone in a different trajectory than some people have chosen to go. What would you say have been some of the biggest challenges of growing both of these businesses the way you have wanted to?
Money.
Okay.
Money has been the biggest challenge. Because if you are in the customer service, if you're out and about and you're not spending much time at your desk looking like I've had to learn what the money meant in different stages of business as well. And so money can disappoint people. It can bring you opportunity. There's a lot that goes into money. And I think the most challenging part is women have not been educated as much as men have. When a man leaves and goes into a business, a lot of time, like I'll tell my friends, think like a man when it comes to the financial piece. And so I've had some ups and downs, and most recently I've had a down that has brought lots of new perspective to me in the way of finances. And I've had to, with this new business, it runs totally different financially than my other business. And so I've had to learn new skill sets and new things to look at and watch for. I've learned most recently how to budget and how to look at that budget. I plan to hire Michelle Williams in the near future to go even deeper with that. So the challenge has been money. You need money to be able to grow, and that cash flow.
Yes.
We're in a industry that it's seasonal. And if you're not preparing in the high time for the low time coming next, then you can find yourself in a heap of trouble. And so I was able to keep both businesses in the air, we'll call it, but it was very challenging in some of the last few months to maneuver through that. And I would say in this stage and then in previous stages as well, I would encourage, if you plan to scale, before you scale, prepare the financials.
Yeah.
That is something that no one told me. And so if you plan to scale, you either need to have a large reserve set aside, or a line of credit that allows you to ebb and flow as you need, as you start to hire on the new people. And we've done it all without that line of credit, which has been challenging. We've been able to bootstrap it, but it would have been a lot easier and less stressful had I had that line of credit in place ahead of time.
Right. And somebody like Michelle is so great at guiding us through things like that. But you're right. Most of us did not learn the importance of cash flow, or the importance of being able to read our financials and understand that just because there was thousands of dollars in a bank account didn't mean we had money. Imagine our surprise when the next set of bills came in and that money was no longer there, because we didn't know how to budget, and we didn't know how to plan. So
and yes, and we have employees, and we have people's lives that we're affecting as well. And so I was voted most dependable in high school, and that has haunted me because
I am for worse.
No, for better or for worse. But dependability is, I do want everyone to have the peace of mind that they're in a position that they can be secure in. And so anyway, it's up to I don't take that responsibility lightly. And at different stages of the business, I am learning new things when it comes to the financials. But that is the most challenging piece of it that I had to learn.
Okay. With all of that in mind, Jill, what is your definition of success?
I would say it's not about the money. I enjoy being a woman. There are not many women-owned businesses that achieve certain revenue levels, and I've enjoyed that, but I've enjoyed the accomplishment of it more than the money of it. And it is, I guess, success for me is being able to collaborate and listen to people's design ideas, and to be able to successfully install those with them being happy. It is also, success for me would be to empower women to know that they have value and they have talents and giftings that they've been given. And I want to be able to help put them in the situation where they have fulfillment in life by doing the things that they were made to do, in my opinion.
I love that. What do you think has been the greatest success in your business so far?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if I were to answer today, I would say being able to own and run two businesses in two different parts of the country.
I think that's a unique situation and calls for some very specific skills. So yeah, I think that's a great success. I love to ask about books. Are you a book reader? Do you have any books that have
I am a
impacted
book
you?
reader.
Okay.
Yes, the very first one is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And then E-Myth by Michael Weber. My most recent one that is leading us through this year is called Traction. And Gino, I'm not sure Gino's last name, but Traction is helping me organize my businesses in a way that are scalable.
Okay.
And then the Bible.
Okay.
I am a Christian who believes very strongly. Exodus is what I've been studying this year I'm sorry, not Exodus. Ecclesiastes is what I am studying this year, and it has to do with money. And I'm learning things that I've been in church all my life, but it is shedding light on financial pieces that I had no clue that were in there. So that's been fun as well.
Okay, great. Do you depend a lot on technology? It sounds like you do for your symptoms, for your systems. Do you use technology in the workroom?
We do. In High Country, we're paperless, so we don't use any kind of paper there. Here, we're still in the Workroom Collective. We are still printing out work orders, but we are highly dependent upon softwares for sure.
All right. What 3 business items could you not live without?
Well, I would say Krista is an item, and she is my operations manager. I couldn't live without her. I couldn't live without Tracy, so that's number 2. She's the operations manager at the Workroom Collective. And then I would say my laptop.
Okay. I love that that 2 people are the first things that you thought of. I love that. Jill, what do you do extremely well?
I think I have insight into what can be. And I think that I do really well. Okay. I'm a dreamer.
I love that. All right. What do you not do so well?
Ooh, I am not a detail person. And so I don't execute to the nth degree very well.
Okay. That's interesting regarding what we do for a living and the details that are involved in that. What about you?
That's probably...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, that's probably why my husband said no more sewing. He probably said it in a nice way.
Yeah. Saw something
without telling me the back. Yeah.
I love that. What about you would surprise people?
I had President Carter in my living room when I lived in Plains, Georgia. I think that's a surprise to people.
I agree. I love that. What do you love best about this business?
Oh, man. I love the people, and the people love to create. When I went to CWC, there was not a better feeling of being in a conference where I had a lot in common with most of the people there. I love the people. And then I'm a textile junkie. Yeah. And so I love all the different textiles that we get to be a part of.
Okay. What do you like least about this business?
Unreasonable expectations. Sometimes that is really hard to maneuver through, especially on larger projects that we have. I think there are unreasonable expectations from our clients sometimes, designers maybe, that and normally the root of it is we haven't communicated well enough what they should expect. And so, but
yeah. I agree. That's a tough one. Jill, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself doing the same thing, running both businesses and traveling when I can, spending time with my grandbabies, and hopefully running more successful, sustainable, financially stable businesses.
Love that. So I will put links to your Facebook and Instagram accounts for both businesses so that people can find you. And I've absolutely loved this conversation, but I have to ask you the final question, and that is, what advice would you give to someone either who's new in this business, who's been in business for a while, or both?
I would say being resourceful is your best gift. And if you take the time to make the right connections with the people who are already in the business doing the things, we are a very open group of people. And for the most part, if you find someone who's not so willing to share, there are tons of others who would. And so keep looking for that network. WCAA was that for me early on, and it has been that source of networking for me all along in my journey. And those friendships are priceless, and those connections are priceless.
I couldn't agree more. And I often said, if it had not been for those people early on in my career, the answer to have you ever thought a bit about quitting for me would have been yes, I did quit. And they were always there to pick me up and help me out. So I couldn't agree more with that. Jill, thank you so much for your time today. It's really been a pleasure for me to get to know you better and understand your business better. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, thank you, Seal. What an honor. And I'm so impressed with what you've done for our industry, being that resource of collaborating all of the library together. What an amazing source of information for anyone to be able to tap into. And I appreciate you doing that for us. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of it.
Thank you, Jill. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Jill today. It was really a pleasure for me to get to know her better. I was aware of her business, High Country Drapery, but I did not realize until recently that she had purchased another business. And I was following the Workroom Collective on social media and did not realize it was her. So this is, sometimes I go down a rabbit hole trying to find who different people are and what they're doing. And I was thrilled to realize that it was Jill. And I had an opportunity to meet her in person a few weeks ago. And I was thrilled that she said yes when I asked her to interview her. So I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Jill today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.